My guest today is Cyrus Richardson. Cyrus is a filmmaker here in Columbus. He's created several short films and understands the filmmaking landscape, really specific to Ohio, very well. His short films have won multiple awards at film festivals. Additionally, we talk about his story, Columbus in general, and really why he does what he does. All that and more on this chronicle of the Columbus Chronicle. I appreciate you coming by and talking to me about filmmaking in Columbus, your story, and just everything around that. And I think that's where I kind of want to start is your story. Talk to me how you one got to Columbus and your life in Columbus growing up.
Yeah, so my mom's job got transferred from Sacramento, California to Columbus around the age of 10 years old. So she worked at DFAS, Defense Finance and Accounting Services. And so that's when I started going to Reynoldsburg High School. Always very creative. I grew up with a single parent mom and a sister that was 7 years older than me. So I was kind of by myself a lot. And so that's kind of where, when I look back on my life, that's where I got my imagination from, being by myself. And I was able to go on and get a psychology degree. And that's when I started to reflect on why things are the way they are. And yeah, while I was in high school, met a lot of performing arts kids. I saved up. My first job was, my first real job was at Arby's at the age of 16. Saved up my money, $500 camera. I still got it at my mom's house. And that's when, I was just obsessed with that camera, just making skits, shorts, nonstop at the age of 16. So going on to college, got my psychology degree. And then that's when I started taking screenwriting classes and film producing, things like that. And I was like, all right, this is it. So I was very convinced that psychology and filmmaking were the things that I can concentrate on and, put my passion into. And I really, till this day, I'm not tired of it. It's truly what I love to do.
Was there a specific memory you have growing up where it was like, oh yeah, I definitely got a creative bug here?
I think I was watching, maybe my sister was more into films and, um, we watched Spike Lee type films a lot. But really my friends from high school, I mean, our creative juices, we just at the lunch table and other people were into other things, drugs and partying and stuff. And just looking back, it's like, wow, we were so ahead of our age because we were just like, what do we got to do to be creative? And we were really a little bit advanced, in my opinion.
With the psychology degree, talk about why that's important in filmmaking.
Great. Thanks for asking. A few people have told me, and I appreciate it. They said, people with psychology degrees make the best writers, is what they told me. I was like, thank you for noticing that because we're so complicated. We don't even understand ourselves. And I believe it was Socrates said the unexamined life isn't worth living. And so you got to have this life of examination. And so I understand I used to people watch at the mall, at school, when people would go into cliques, I would sit on the bench by myself and just watch people and just understand their dialogue and body language. And that was when I knew like psychology was my thing. I just love to study human beings, individual behavior and group behavior. And so that's when I started to understand like what people say and what people do are always two different things. So like fill out a survey and people will give you their answers, what they'll do in the survey, but what they do is going to be something else. So we don't even understand our true selves really. And so when you apply psychology to screenwriting, that's when the subtext comes in. And you don't want talking heads, just two people talking. You want people to express how they feel. So you don't know what your characters say, I'm mad. You don't want them to say that. You want them to just set their glass down, angrily or make some facial expressions. And so just understanding human behavior, it's like we have a self-deception problem with ourselves. And, just I'm glad that I'm able to have this philosophical mind to understand the human weakness. And that's what stops people from prospering in life. They don't understand what their weakness is because they haven't identified it. And when I was in high school, I was always analyzing other people. It wasn't until I was in college, and I was like, you know what? I need to analyze myself. I never see how quick we are to judge others and say he does this wrong and this and that. And this whole time, you weren't looking at inwardly within yourself to try to diagnose your flaws, you know. So all that encompasses me just being able to, relate to all these different walks of life, and I can show it in my characters and my script.
That's a great point that you hit on is when you're able to create more than one dimension on someone, it really requires knowing the human or understanding people and understanding kind of in their minds where they're coming from. How do you take the experiences in your life, and the experiences you see in others with that deeper understanding and apply them to characters?
Yeah, and that's the gift of psychology. That's something I feel like I stand out. I have great compassion for all walks of life. And so I can relate to everybody. And because I have that compassion, I'm able to be a doctor. I am able to be a pilot. I'm able to be a refugee. I'm just take, I'm almost have like an eagle's eye perspective. And that I just have this understanding of what people are going through. And all I have to do is just jump into their shoes, and that's hard for other people to do because they just live themselves and they only understand their views and they expect everyone to have the same views as them. It's called egocentric, you know? And I try not to be that.
I feel like there's a huge level of empathy to that too. I wanna go back briefly. You mentioned your first camera. Do you remember what type of camera it was?
Oh, it's a shark. It's a shark. And that's all I know.
Did you have any, early projects on with that camera that you can recall?
Oh, yeah. I've got tapes and tapes. And, this was many years ago. So I'm not sure what we recorded would be cool these days. Though everything has
I'm in the
shifted.
same boat, don't worry.
Yeah, so I'm almost like wanna ruin those tapes. It's like, no one see this.
Put 'em in a
It
vault
was
somewhere.
funny at the time we did it, but now in 2025, a little dangerous now.
That's funny. Well, you bring up another point then with that, that I wanna dive into is creating, if you're going to spend your life creating content, eventually you're going to look back on some of that content and, whether it was like, "Ooh, don't want that to be seen," or just with a different eye. For you, as you've grown along in this career, when you look back at past content, what does that kind of invoke in you?
Yeah, looking back on it, I realized I was doing it for fun, and that's why I got good at it. I was doing it because I loved it and it was fun. So my material wasn't to necessarily entertain other people. It was just like, we got to get these ideas out. Now I'm like, all right, I got to make something that people come to want to see the audience. So my intention is, I've got more focus on what the goal is. It's still fun, but I understand that there's more dynamics to it, and that's what you go to film school for, to understand it. So, yeah, just looking back, I appreciate that. God put something in my heart for me to do something that you love to do, and that's when I try to encourage people. It's like, make sure you love it because it's going to be the first thing you want to do when you wake up. It's going to be the last thing you're doing before you go to sleep. And if you got to take a vacation from it, I wonder if you love it. And so I could ask America, like, who would be happy if you got a paid vacation away from work this week? Everyone would raise their hand, but I don't want a vacation from. So I hope everyone in America finds that thing that you don't want to be separated from. That's truly what love is. And I think that God has put many talents in all of us to discover. So hopefully people do.
When you look back on building your career, how did you realize this was something you were going to do professionally?
Yeah, and great question. Thanks for asking. I was in college and just, I always felt passion and energy in me to apply to something. When I wake up, it's just like, I feel like there's so much more to life than doing what they told me to do. And there's just something, a brewing in me. And I was just wondering what that was. So I did have different things to think about. And like I said, we all have multiple talents, but I was just getting the encouragement from my professors and the people in my class, like, hey, you should really keep going with this. And I was like, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that encouragement was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Let's go. I did not know the journey would be this long. And that's why, you can't necessarily do it for money because the money was not going to come when. So, do you love it? Because if you love it, you're going to do it whether you get paid or not or how much. So, that's what I see the difference in. A lot of up and coming screenwriters are people in different areas. I'm not going to say a location. People get mad when I say a certain area, LA. But it seems like they're in it to be rich and famous, and here in Ohio, we're in it to be better at our craft. We're so concentrated here. Like I said, I'm not born in the state, graduated in Florida, born in California. So I can say these states are the best, or all the other states that I've visited. This area is so concentrated. And that's why you see that OSU football is number one. You see that our tech is growing. We've got like the number one library in America. Our zoo is top five. Like every category in Ohio is like we do everything the best here. And you don't see flashy cars. People aren't trying to show off here. People really want to be the best at what they do because I do. So I know how to recognize that in other people and surround myself around them.
What is it like being a filmmaker in Ohio?
It's well, it's pros come with cons, right? And it's I'm staying here to be a big fish in a small pond. So I've got support from Cincinnati and Cleveland. They're only 2 hours away, right? So it's almost like I have the whole state in my hands, resource wise, and everyone is working together. There's not many egos here, like I was saying. Um, and there is pride because a lot of people are moving to New York, Atlanta, Chicago, and LA. So who's left here? It's the people who truly want to be here. And so that's who I'm associating with. And I'm truly working with the best talent Ohio has to offer. And it's like they're all mine because who it's like it's all for me. And so I saw that Ohio was emerging. So, the con can be that the lingo isn't there, especially investment wise. So we were awarded the Ohio Film Tax Credit. And what you can do with that, if I was in LA, is get a loan or backing based on that. But the banks here, like, what are you talking about? We don't talk the film language here. So we have $93,000 coming to us from, the Ohio Film Tax Credit. You can leverage that and get a loan based on that credit for 80K right now for us to shoot the film, and then you get the tax credit of 93, and that there's your percentage. But, the banks aren't used to this, as well as the investors are more into tech, which is all right. That's what's growing in many other cities. So, that's part of our approach. Is trying to get one of these tech investors to say, "Hey, I thought about investing in film before." And if you're in California, and that's another advantage. If you're in California, you're talking to people, and it's oh, I've invested in 5 or 6 films so far, and they didn't do good. So I'm not in the film. It's oversaturated. So here in Columbus, it's, well, I've never invested in film before. Maybe I'll be the first one. So that's the pro to it right there.
So you mentioned, like, the investment and all that. How do you go about maybe, and I'm not saying that's your job, but how do people change their minds in Ohio about looking at filmmaking from that investment standpoint, from that, growth standpoint?
Yeah, it's very hard because the reality is, over 80% of films don't get made and over 80% of films don't make money. And so you got to find your niche, the people who have the same cause as you. So if I was making a movie on, panda bears, I would go to the Columbus Zoo or the animal rights activists, and then now they have a special interest in it. And so my film is about sleep paralysis. So now I need to get the sleep doctors and there's the World Sleep Society and things like that. People who are into religion as well, churches, so you just got to find where you fit in and find your support.
I find it really interesting that there's a hesitancy to invest in filmmaking when you say, 80% of films, don't make profit. Which is funny because when you look at the startup scene, like how many startups don't make profit or end up closing, right? I'd say probably close to that amount who in the long run end up getting closing down or running out of runway. So The thing that's different though with media is there's always going to be something there afterwards to show for your investment. I don't know, just a kind of a side thought on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And another thing about, I'm an investor as well in other things. And man, I used to be so complicated. I've narrowed it down to essentials are staples. And really, what people really, really need when that's recession proof is fruits, vegetables, and water. But you know what else on top of that? Entertainment. Entertainment. So let's take a king and a queen that have everything, the perfect marriage, and they're completely rich. Everything's fancy. They got all the food and royalty. Guess what they need? Entertainment. Like back in the day, someone come entertain me. Oh, not good enough. Send them to the lions. So even when you have everything in life, there's still something missing in your life. Entertainment.
I wanna go to your, 12 Stones. That's your production company, correct? How did that come about?
Whew, that was many years ago. Um, I didn't know my journey would be this long, so I wrote the script over 10 years ago. And yeah, I was at my mom's house and I've become a Christian recently, and I just didn't understand why my path was so hard. And I was just praying to God and reading the Bible, just like if I'm doing the right thing, God, like, why is it so hard for me? If I wanted to do a crime, it would be like so easy. So how come when I'm trying to do the right thing, it's so hard? Like, aren't you supporting me doing the right thing? So I was very confused, but I was, a novice in my Christian walk, but just reading the Bible and I got 12 stones from there. The scripture, I actually got a tattoo of it, Psalms 26:2. When I was asking God that question, it was, examine me, O Lord, and prove me, try my mind and my heart. And that was after I prayed. I literally like read that scripture. So pretty much it was saying like, I'm going to test you to be a champion. It's not going to be easy. And it was like, all right, I guess I accept the challenge. But 12 Stones Productions comes from the prophet Elijah made an altar with 12 stones, and they pretty much said the significance of 12 stones is a coming of a spectacular event. So I just kind of took that and wanted to make sure God knows he's the cornerstone of my company.
Yeah, and you've been able to grow that quite a bit too. Talk to me about that growth over the years.
Yeah, I actually, like I said, wrote my screenplay over a decade ago, and I just wanted to make it. But going to film school and networking, I now have 7 short films under my belt, and I definitely needed that, and I thought I didn't at the time. I always thought that short films are for people who didn't have enough energy to do a feature film. I was like, just do why you do short films. Oh, my appreciation for short films is out of the roof now. And I'm glad I had to go through that process because now I can apply it to the feature film. But just to make a story in not a short amount of time takes a lot of skill. It's hard to tell a story in an hour and a half. You got 10, 15 minutes, the beginning, middle, and end, and get the audience hooked and want them to engage and see it through the end. That takes very skill wise to be concise like that. So I definitely developed my craft, and just staying here in Columbus proved to, be the right decision for me instead of getting lost in Atlanta and LA, because we've raised over $200,000 last year from tax credits and grants. The city of Hilliard, the Columbus Incentive Grant, the Ohio Film Tax Credit. So, Superman came here and shot probably Cleveland and Cincinnati, skipped over Columbus. I'm like, okay, I guess they know that's my city then. But they took so much of the tax credit money and then they leave. So it's like, hey, the point of the tax credit is to create the economy here so that talent retains here. And so people are preying on us. So to all the filmmakers out there, go get the tax credit money before someone from a different state comes and gets it, because there's not enough film production going on here. So the money's there. You just got to have the right attitude.
What is kind of the state of filmmaking just specifically to the city, not even Ohio, but in Columbus to your mind?
Yeah, I think just like I said, being from a different state, I think it's Ohio, and general, but there's something special about Columbus, just our loyalty and, like I said, just the concentration. So I feel like there's more expertise here. You can see it with OSU football, like that. The fans are crazy. I support OSU football, but I can't associate because it's in you guys' blood. There's no way I could act the way you guys act over OSU football, but I'm still cheering for them. So, I'm not gonna, put on a fake facade that's like, oh, I'm from Ohio, and that's so I'm just noticing how people come together. I'm also an event coordinator for Columbus Young Professionals, and one thing I recognize is that people in Columbus, they solve their problems. I got back from I've had like 5 networking panel type events this week, and people are just talking about what's wrong with Columbus, how are we gonna fix it as a community? Well, when I look at other cities, as well, the government needs to do that, the mayor needs to do this, and our governor and that president, and they just blame. But then here in Ohio, Columbus, we're taking action. I'm telling you, I'm trying to surround myself with like-minded people. And so I'm looking for these things. So again, I have no reason to choose Columbus out of any other city. I think it's a blessing that God has put me here.
You hit on a point that's been brought up in a lot of conversations I've been having, and that is the kind of identity of Columbus. Because you can look at a lot of cities and there's a clear, distinct identity to the city. Columbus seems like it is, someone said the word, a baby in terms of figuring out its identity, that I talked to. What are your thoughts on the city's identity?
Yes, I agree. I like to use the word emerging, but we are not where these other cities are, whether it's Atlanta, Chicago, and Austin, Dallas, Texas, so as someone that, jumps on emerging as someone who views stocks, you don't want the vest down here. You miss the boat when it's up there. It's like, what's got the growth? What's right there in the middle? And that's where Ohio is. So when I'm at these meetings, they do talk about identity and the importance of culture and music and the arts. And they're saying that the cities that prosper the most in America are the ones that have museums and art festivals. They support their artists, the ballet, dancing, opera, singing. Those are the cities. If you look at the prosperous cities in America, but those are the same things that get cut when it's like, all right, we don't have the money, so cut the arts, so we have to figure out our identity. And as of right now, it seems to be like OSU football, but I'm telling you, it's tech is going to blow up here. We already see that Ohio is the heart of America logistically. So headquarters, data centers are coming here because of the cost of living, because you're so close to New York. In 2 hours anywhere, you're in 5 different states. If you drive north 2 hours. And so logistically, this is a blessing to be here. So our identity is becoming, the heart of America, I think.
And it's really interesting because I feel like people look at tech and the arts, and they view them as 2 different things, which I think sometimes there's an overlap in how that works, and there can be a synergy between the arts and technology if it's done right. When you're looking at filmmaking in Columbus as part of the identity, what I guess, what would your message be to those who are wanting to be in that scene, who wanna be filmmakers?
Yeah, to get started and do it. So when my generation graduated college, it was okay, well, you don't have any experience. You just have a degree. And then to the people who didn't get a degree, it's like, well, you just got experience, but we need someone with a degree. So I want to tell everyone to do both. And then now what can they say? So go to school and do it and make your short film, even if it's on your cell phone. These cell phones are looking pretty good. How often have you watched a short film or a movie and said, that camera was better than the last camera's movie that I watched? So people are more into the story than what camera you're using. So don't get caught up that I need this gear, I need this budget. focus on telling a great story, and you'll figure it out as a producer. If your intentions are to do something, the universe will conspire along with you to make it happen. You'll start running into people, networking, someone say, hey, this is a camera. I don't want this anymore. Oh man, I just needed that right on time. You see, and you just have to put those intentions out there and work hard. So everyone who wants to get involved, um, get experience and education. Now, what can they say? Like I said.
In getting involved, how have you gone about doing that? How have you gone about placing yourself in those rooms with those people who are adjacent in the industry?
Yeah, volunteering, what people don't wanna hear. So when I first got out of college, graduated, came back to Ohio, I just jumped on every short film, and there wasn't even my taste of genre. It was a lot of demon, mummy, vampire stuff that Ohio does. They always got some type of Oktoberfest, Nightmare Fest. So there's a bunch of gore and everything. That's truly not my thing. But I was there to study the directors. I was there to learn everybody's job on set. I was usually a PA or a script supervisor. Really helped me out a lot. And what a script supervisor does is make sure that everything is consistent. So when there's a cut in the scenes, sometimes if you really watch it, I think the show Friends has a lot of it that to do like the blinds are open in this scene, and then like now it's or the Coke can was turned this way, and then it's turned the other way, and people miss that stuff. So I was able to get a sharper eye to make sure that everything is consistent, whether they take a lunch break and then come back and things like that. So it made me very detailed in understanding everyone's role.
From the beginning, the conceptualizing to the final product, is there a specific part in the filmmaking process where you just find it sounds like writing, but I'm just making a guess. Is there a specific part that you just love?
I love, which is, I thank God for the gift. I love that really my characters tell the story. I don't know what's going to happen when I'm writing. And so I'm so attached to my characters understand it. They tell me. So really what I do is I kind of write my end first because I
Mm.
ask myself, what impact do I want the audience to have? And I tell this to everyone who's learning from me. What do you want the audience to walk away with after they see your film? So now you got to think about that third act in that last scene. And that's what I think about first. And then now I got to get there. Now I got these characters, let's say 5 characters. I already know my ending and how the impact I want. Now I got these 5 characters that I got to interweave to get to this. And it's a roller coaster. And this is going to be the end result.
Ah, that is a really unique process having that endpoint and knowing that that's where the characters will get, but how do their character how do they develop along the way?
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So out of all your the things you've worked on, is there a character that sticks out to you?
Um, I would say some of my talent. I keep working with the same talent here in Ohio because I feel like they're the best. So I've got some favorites and they keep on getting nominated left and right. We're getting accepted in the festivals and they truly are the best. And I feel like I'm getting a deal because they're better than the talent in these other states. They're just staying here. So it's a bargain.
Out of all the short films you've done, do you have a favorite? I know that's hard to answer.
Oh yeah, that is hard. One thing I try to do is make sure my short film is better than my last one. That's always a goal. Um, so my most recent one, which will be showing in Cincinnati this Saturday at Winter Film, has 11 nominations. It's the most nominations out of thinking out of all the films submitted. And so even up for Best Picture. So we're excited to see how that does. And I feel like that is my best production thus far. It's better than my last one. The last one was better than my last one. I can't tell you a favorite. I will it wasn't my first one because I learned a lot on that one. I will say there's a film called Scent of a Sinner that I did, and that was really when I had to put my producer skills on and make things happen. And that really catapulted me to like, all right, you're a director, you're a writer, Now you gotta learn how to be a producer. It's like that really elevated me to understand.
So when you have the idea for the film together and you want to go now look to find funding or find something, and what does that look like in Ohio? What are your next steps?
Yeah, and the proper term to use is creative financing because as a producer, it can come from so many different ways. So we got the bank, we got tax credits, you got grants, you got friends and family, you got donations, you got the Indiegogos, little platforms. Um, you got investors, you got your own money. So you can list about 10. So it's a mindset. You can walk around and say, how it doesn't have any money for film, and that's what it is. It's a quote where you think you can or think you can't, and you're right. So if you think Ohio is the best place to make films at, then you're right. If you think Ohio is the worst place to make films at, you're going to get that result, then you're right. And I think this is one of the best. And I just listed nearly 10 different ways to get money, and there's more than that. So it is your attitude, and you will attract it. And as much as I put myself out there, the crazy thing is no one's really said yes to my pitches. It has been people from that I never knew were watching me, like you, that just come and outreach to me. And so I've gotten investors by people reaching out to me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so there is these laws to attraction that you got to master. And it is be careful chasing because when you chase something, it runs away, right? So recognize you need to attract things, and how to attract things is to just develop and be better. Just focus on developing and be better. And these youngins, I don't know what to call them, they want success so fast that they think marketing is everything. I gotta market. And it's like, but you didn't develop yourself. Are you the best? Are you the best cameraman? Are you the best screenwriter? Focus on that. That's what attracts people to come to you, to be the best. And so people are half as good as they should be, and they just think, "Oh, I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for a production deal." You're rushing to success too much. That's why you have to love the process.
What would you say to someone who is in that process and maybe they're feeling defeated? They love their art, but they're feeling like they're just hitting roadblocks. What would your advice be to someone in that situation?
Oh, you're gonna be there for a while, but and I am too. But the thing to say is, well, why? What's your why? Why are you doing this? Okay, so if you're doing this to be rich and famous, that ain't gonna hold up after 3 or 4 years in this, and you're not rich and famous yet. So why are you doing this? I'm doing this because I love my family. I love God. He's given me a gift, and I want to make a social impact. I'm not going to stop. Those are my motivations. Nothing can stop that. So it's no longer about the money anymore. It's about I need to execute. So the people who support me, my investors, the city who's given me over $130,000 in tax and grants after we're done filming, by the way, I have to make them proud. I have to. So that's my why. So when I get down and out, too bad. Keep going.
So without giving away all the details, you hinted at your newest film. Congratulations on all the accolades for it, by the way. That's exciting. Give us a little preview of it.
Yeah, it's titled Aimless, and it is about a clinical psychologist who gets a new patient suffering from sleep paralysis. And the more she works with them, she starts to go crazy herself, but they end up finding out who was behind the sleep paralysis attacks at the end. So this is something that I used to suffer from as an adolescent. So I've only had sleep paralysis less than 10 times in my life. Absolutely terrifying. It wasn't until I was in college that I learned that it was a term. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not alone. Yes, a lot of people have demonic encounters. So we have people from all over the world following us on social media, thousands of people. Outside of America, our top territories are the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mexico, UK. And so, yeah, I'm trying to figure out why it's those geographics. but there's so much mystery behind it, but it's bringing people together. And also another thing is with all these causes that I work with here in Columbus, a lot of people um, don't agree with the same causes. So what this cause that's important to me is not that important to you. And then so it's kind of hard for us to, it's almost dividing sometimes when someone's like, I care about this. Well, I care about that. I've learned that guess what we all have in common? Sleep, everyone. Can we all agree on that cause? So I think we all want better sleep, more sleep, better quality sleep. So I found a cause we can all agree on, which again is a blessing. So that's why people, it's a universal concept, and everyone is around the world is coming to this.
When you look at the future of Columbus, what excites you and what concerns you?
Well, we've got the thing, I was talking about this in other meetings too. The thing about Columbus is, like I said, we're emerging, so we get to see what other cities are doing. So I think we were talking about the airport. Our airport is about to get, enhanced in many different ways. So we're looking at LA and Austin. What do they do right? What do they do wrong? So when a company comes out, you can see them make all the mistakes. So we can see what all these other cities are doing wrong, and now we can do it better. So it's almost like you guys be the guinea pigs. And now we are going to do even better. And that's what's going to catapult us to be number one. So you saw what Tyler Perry did with Atlanta, just one man, and just opening up doors for so many people and talent. And that is a film economy unbelievably. And so that is kind of my vision. I one day would like to meet him and thank him for giving me part of that inspiration to do that same thing here in Columbus, Ohio, so that people don't feel the need to have to leave Ohio to make a living if you're in the film industry. And this is going to be huge. It attracts tourism, restaurants, hotels. This is how you get the money circulating and giving people purpose and activity to keep the money coming and circulating so that people can make a living. That's what this is all about. And the concern is, I mean, I'm not sure I see much concern because we are learning, like I said, from these other cities how they're doing it. So our transportation infrastructure is going to be better. So it's almost a blessing in disguise. It's almost a blessing in disguise to let someone go first and see them trip up. And they're like, all right, we know, no, let's go this way. So it's, I see us at a huge advantage. And I think 3 years, give me less than 3 years. This place is going to be, it already is booming. It's going to be well known to the point where people won't confuse Columbus, Georgia, like people are gonna know Columbus of America.
That's an exciting way to look at it, is the Columbus, Georgia thing is funny when you search sometimes to roll across that. For someone who's getting started in filmmaking, you talked about advice for them. What are some resources that someone could look to?
Um, well, have the mindset that there's unlimited resources. Do not have a mindset of scarcity. Have the mindset of abundance. And then so it will be if you believe that. Um, Blue Cat helped me out a lot. Blue Cat, Gordy Hoffman is out of LA. He is very passionate about giving reviews or having table readings, seminars, and he gives it to you like to the point where you might not want to do this anymore, and that's what you need. So it's like if you're a basketball player, you should go to the toughest basketball court. If you're a boxer, you should go to Brooklyn or Michigan to the toughest area. So I tried to do that myself as a writer. What is the toughest platform or area I can go to. So he helped me out. You could tell he loves what he does, but yeah, I can tell that if he could break your dreams, but if you get past him, then you are going to take off because you took that criticism. Um, Screenwriters can be very sensitive, and as I was in my beginning stages too. So when people criticize you, the first thing people say is, "And then you just don't understand. You don't understand." So you gotta get multiple feedback. So when 5 to 10 people are now saying the same thing about your script, maybe it's time to consider it and understand that you can make it better. So other than that, I went to Ohio Media School. I was able to have an unbelievable instructor by the name of TJ Cooley, very passionate, obsessive, just like me. So after every set on production, everyone goes home, me and him would stay and just talk about everything for like over an hour. Just like what went wrong, what went right, what are we gonna do tomorrow, what are we gonna do next time? We just did that nonstop. And just to have that criticism, you've got to be able to accept criticism. And we live in a highly sensitive culture. So that's what's holding people back.
Whether it be criticism or something on set that has just felt like in the moment has devastated you, but you've been able to go on. Have there ever been any moments like that where you found some sort of challenge that's impacted you?
Oh boy. My first short film was there was some turmoil. I was not in complete control. And from then on out, I made sure I have to establish a culture. And so I have team meetings before my production. This is how we treat each other. We must respect one another. We're going to collaborate. This is how we solve our problems. So that first short film that left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't let it stop me. I let it turn me into someone like I'm never letting this happen again on a set that I'm associated with. And so from then on, I have taken charge of every production.
That's the right mindset to have. What do you look for in people when you're bringing people onto a shoot?
Oh, thank you for asking that. Um, the obvious one is talent. We're all going to be, but now my new line is I used to chase talent. Now I chase character. So I got to get to know you. I got to get to know you because I want to know how you're going to interact with other people. And I need to know that as a director, a writer, producer, that I can give you feedback and we're still good. And I need you to be comfortable to give me feedback. So there has to be some rapport building before we start. And that's why I keep working with the same talents after over 3 years now because we've got that relationship and they're not gonna hesitate to say, "Cyrus, you should have done this, do that." And it's like we move on. I know the intentions of everybody. It's like we want the best and we all care and love each other. So, building a culture is what's gonna determine your success.
Uh, that applies to bigger picture things within Columbus too, which is kind of a great way to kind of end it off. I have one question for you before I ask if there's anything else you want to add. I always ask this question. Favorite places to eat, drink, or just hang out around Columbus?
Oh man, oh, that's just
Take a moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all good.
I like to consider myself an expert at chicken wings, mozzarella sticks, and salads. Those 3 things, I really take that serious. So I'm always looking for the best place to get a salad, who's got the best chicken wings. But there's a place called Ella's in Canal Winchester that just opened, unbelievably good. Um, like I said, I went to Reynoldsburg High School. There's some place called Scally's on 256, an Italian restaurant. Unbelievable. Like it's not an imitation. I used to work there actually, and so they are from Italy, and so they've got the genuine way of doing things. So Olive Garden is no comparison. Um, Chicken wing wise, I'm gonna go with BW3's and Massey's is up there. Um, there's a place called Peppers. Yes, look that up. Peppers is kind of near downtown, by the old Eastland Mall or something like that. But other than that, yeah, salad wise, hey, Chick-fil-A has good salads, and there's some other spots around Columbus that I like to hop around, but that's what comes to mind first.
I big fan of Italian food, so I'll have to try out the place you mentioned over there in Reynoldsburg. Anything else you want to add or share? Thoughts on Columbus, filmmaking, anything?
Um, just that I feel like our society is falling away from God, and it seems to be a taboo, touchy subject. So I've always been hesitant about it because I don't want to be off-putting or feel like I'm, trying to persuade someone. But at the same time, that is making us suppress God in our society. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to start talking about God more in everything that I do. And if people choose not to listen, that's okay. But I feel that me being a believer in God, that it is my duty and something I want to do in my heart to let people know that we have a loving God and He created you out of love and He has a purpose for you. And I hope that you find that in your spiritual journey. And if we remove God from our society, how can He lead His people? How can He tell us a famine is coming? How can He tell us that this is where the food is, or farm here, or watch out for this war? How can He protect us if we don't believe in Him? So that's what I want to leave the audience with, that we need to, acknowledge God in our country, in our society, so that we can continue to prosper.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything, Cyrus. I really do.
Thank you so much for noticing me and bringing me on.